So, Bryan, we've been having these chats about strong-willed people, strong-willed children, and we've talked in previous chats just about how, in the height of the conflict, neither person is really thinking clearly because you're just under so much stress that your brain has kind of gone to, just getting through it. And so, I wanted to talk today about when is the right time to talk about the behavior or to talk about dealing with the emotions that happen, because it's obviously not the time to talk about it when the child is in the middle of the meltdown. But there are also, there's that expectation that if the child just has the meltdown and nothing is ever discussed about the meltdown, and then the child has the meltdown, it's just a repeated behavior. And at some point, there are things that a parent can do to help their child develop skills to manage those meltdowns. And so when is that time? And how do you go about that?
Complex question. It's a fun one, pretty complex, isn't it? Well, we remember what we know about stress. When we're stressed, we don't act the same way. So when it comes to learning to manage my emotions and kind of debrief negative situations or conflict, I always have to do so when I'm calm. In the middle of the storm is not the time to learn how to swim, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I learned how to swim before there's a storm. So when I need to learn how to manage my emotions when I'm actually not experiencing that emotion. As weird as that sounds, when I'm angry is not the time to learn how to manage anger. It's when I'm calm that I can learn how to manage anger. That's really a really important point. So in the middle of the meltdown, we talked about that in a previous discussion, is I don't engage in questions. I don't kind of engage in those conversations, but I do when we're calm. A couple of different ways we can go about learning how to manage, especially those negative emotions when the situation is past, when the storm is past. Three quick strategies that are actually brilliant and easy to use as parents and as educators as well. The first one is a sentence starter. A sentence starter is just a phrase with three dots after, and we call those ellipses in the language, that show that you're supposed to finish the sentence. And it could be something like this. You present this to your child. I was most concerned about dot, dot, dot. So you give them a way to start the conversation. Or I was thinking dot, dot, dot. What were you thinking when you were experiencing this a couple of days ago or a couple of hours ago? Or I most wanted dot, dot, dot. If you do a Google search for sentence starters or discussion starters or sentence stems, they're sometimes called, you'll find a ton of them. But in order to kind of frame the conversation, I might provide those to a child and say, you finish the sentence. Because sometimes we ask a kid, especially boys, especially teenage boys, what were you thinking? What were you feeling? And they're like, I don't know. I was
And
mad.
they really don't know.
They don't. And it's not that they're trying to be uncommunicative. It's just hard to put into words sometimes what they're feeling. I'm mad, right? Their primary emotions are just mad. Well, there's ways we can go about doing them, and that giving them specific sentence starters. The most important thing I need my mom to know is, or when I'm experiencing this, please remember to, dot, dot, dot. We give a kid a way to start the conversation. That's a really important one. The next one is a really brilliant strategy, and forgive me, I forget the primary source or where this first came from. It was from a child psychologist, if I remember right. I just don't remember his name. He calls it the 3-penny exchange. And that is give a child 3 pennies. And this is a way to get them to kind of think and reflect about a behavior. 3 pennies, and you tell the child, here's the deal. I'm going to give you 3 pennies. I'm going to then make a statement about what just happened or what happened yesterday or a couple of hours ago. If I'm 100% right, you give me all 3 pennies back. This is a way to make the discussion tangible. If I'm partially right, but mostly right, you give me 2 pennies back. If I'm just a little bit right, you give me 1 penny back. If I'm totally wrong, you keep all 3 pennies. And the idea here is giving them a way to frame the discussion, as in, I'm going to make a statement like, I think we kind of lost our all sense of control when we were at the store because you went in thinking you were going to be able to buy something and then I changed it on you. If I'm 100% right, you give me all 3 pennies back. If I'm partially right, but mostly right, you give me 2 pennies back. If I'm only a little bit right, you give me one. If I'm totally wrong, you keep all 3 pennies. Then you can give the child some time to think about it and reflect and process. So let's say they come back and they give you 1 penny back. That means you were just a little bit right. Then I might ask the child, say, okay, where was I mostly wrong? Tell me what I didn't understand. Or let's say they give you all 3 pennies back. You say, okay, good to know. It's just a way for them to be tangible and a way to organize those thoughts. 3 penny exchange. I'm 100% right to I'm only a little bit right to I'm 100% wrong. The last of the 3 strategies, sentence starters, the 3 penny exchange, and the last one is just to role play. That situation that frustrated the kid where they had the meltdown is going to happen again, period. And that happens to us as adults as well. It's not if, it's a matter of when. We know this as classroom teachers and educators. It's not a matter of if we're going to face that situation, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen again. So to get the kid ready for it, not that I'm expressing distrust that they can't handle it, but I let them know, you know what, in the future, there's going to be someone who gets you upset. In the future, there's going to be someone who calls you a name and makes you feel bad. In the future, there's going to be someone who wants you to do something you don't want to do. When that happens, let's discuss the best approach. And I have that discussion when they're calm and when they can think and when they can reflect. It's the same reason football coaches practice. It's the same reason any coach takes their kids to practice, because there's going to be a time when you're going to have to actually perform. So 3 quick, easy ideas.
Thank you so much for those ideas, Bryan, of just helping to get that growth and development, going, and to realize that, yeah, you're 2 or 3 now, or you're 12 and 13 now, but eventually you're going to be an adult, and throwing yourself on the floor, kicking and screaming is probably not
Probably
going
not a
to.
good behavior.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for your advice and your suggestions on that. And I look forward to chatting again.
You're welcome. Glad to help.